And actually, you should not think that such deities arise only after the death, but actually it is arising now. Wrathful deities are appearing. The things that we don't like, or the appearance that gives us fear, are not other than this experience of wrathful deities. But most of the time, we always get carried away by these different experiences. We get anger towards some of the experience, we get desire towards some of the experience, jealous, pride. So we are always under a framework. Now, altogether, to be precise, the first Bardo of, Bardo of this life, is a state of uncertainty. Now, uncertainty will explain. Uncertainty is the function of the natural Bardo of this life. Uncertainty. You see, the programs that we make, you see, this needs some kind of a psychological trick here. Yeah. Why we make programs? Why we make appointments? Because we are uncertain. Actually, we think that we are making programs and we are making appointments because it is going to be certain. But actually, it's not right, It's just the opposite. As Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, again, I'm referring to his book, as he said in his commentary, one of the basic uncertainty is the uncertainty of losing one's own ground, or some kind of a, security or something. Stepping out of the real world to unreal world. Real world for us, because of our expectation, is air-conditioned rooms and nice and soft bed. An unreal world is cold, lonely, fear. This we call it Bardo again, because this arise, all this what uncertainty experience comes in between the state of the birth and the state when you are caught by a cause and condition of your death. So now we talk about the second category, the painful Bardo of dying. Now this is what many of us has been waiting to hear. Although I must emphasize that Bardo book, so-called in English, Tibetan Book of the Dead, is not exactly Book of Dead, but it can be Book of the Birth. Now, again, this second stage of Bardo of dying, we call it Bardo because this comes in between, all this uncertainty experience comes in between the time when you are caught by a cause and condition of death to the first Dharmata Bardo. Now, usually, some teachers teach the Bardo of dying and Bardo of Dharmata together, as it has a lot of connection. But here, we are going to differentiate between these two. Now, as we talked yesterday, there are different varieties of Bardo of this life. Also, in this second Bardo of dying, painful Bardo of dying, also have different varieties. Different varieties are there because of how much mental development you have gained. Also, how much obscured you are. Now, for yogis, usually for yogis, here it describes several ways of dying. Some yogis, when they die, it's like when a pot breaks. The space between the space inside the pot and the outside becomes inseparable. Likewise, when they die, when they abandon this physical body, their state of the Buddha nature, or the Buddha within, or the Dhammakaya, and the Dhammakaya, that which we practice as a path, will become inseparable. And some of the yogis, when they die, like firewood, as you burn them in the fire, it will become ashes, and even the ashes become very small dust, and then the dust also become kind of void, and for some, as a rainbow, it disappears in the. Now for some, even though they die, you will not have any corpse or any physical body to be cremated or to be buried. This is what they call the way of Dakinis dying. This is the excellent, this is the best way of dying. For those who manage to die in this way, they don't have any experience of dissolutions, which we will explain later. These are the best yogis. Not really the best, but still quite a good, quite a high class yogis. They have also several ways of dying. Like a very, infant, small baby. Like they die, they have no fear of death because they don't know what is death. They are completely ignorant of this baby's way of dying. And then there's another called beggar's way of dying. These beggars, they really don't care where they die. Under the bridge, maybe in the rain. Then there's deer or lion's way of dying. This is quite similar to the beggar's way of death. That you don't, relatives and friends, they don't know where this person is. You see, if you go somewhere before you die for a long time, the relatives might worry, for a few years, and then they will kind of forget you slowly. Anyway, making yourself disappear before the death really happens. These are how the middle class yogis, they die. Now the worst way of dying is the king's way of dying. You have all this attachment, all these relatives, all this crying and all this will business and things like that, These are just different varieties, different types of. Now, the actual explanation of the Bardo of dying, generally, when we are developed, when we are being developed, we are produced by 5 elements. And after the birth, while we are living, we are also living based on these 5 elements. When these 5 elements sort of become sometimes, when these 5 elements become unbalanced, then so-called sickness or unhealthy situation arises. And when we die, these 5 elements dissolves. So now from here you might want to take a note, if those who wants to listen seriously, because there will be some different names of different air. Now when the death is near, then there is an air element which they call equal abiding wind. When this equal abiding wind degenerates, or when actually this equal abiding wind disappears, you will have difficulty for digestion, and slowly the warmth of the body will be dissolved from downwards. Then there is what they call life upholding wind. When that wind degenerates, or when that wind disappears, then we will begin to have a lot of confusion, and we will begin to sort of forget things easily. These are the initial stage of the death. It can happen that we are not sure that we are dying. Then there is a wind called downward clearing wind. When that wind disappears, or when that wind degenerates, then we will have difficulty on controlling our emotions. Then there's upward moving wind. When that wind degenerates or disappears, we will have difficulty of having good appetite, Also, the duration of the breathing will be not normal. And then there is a pervading wind. This is the last wind of the gross wind. So when the pervading wind disappears or degenerates, then we will have difficulty on using our limbs, such as it will be difficult to walk, it will be difficult to sort of carry heavy things or jump from the fence. So after this, different types of wind becomes kind of dysfunctional, then you see, in both Hinduism and Buddhism, we believe that our body, our mind is like a handicapped rider, and the wind is like a blind horse, and our body, especially our veins, and especially the chakras and channels, are like a maze of many different roads which is not cleared. And after the space element of all the elements in the Bardo stage, we believe that the wind element or air element is the strongest, as air element acts as a ground or a basement of all the other elements. Not only the internal, our body structure, but in the Abhidharma or in the Kala Chakra, we believe that even the external phenomena, such as whole this universe, is based on the air element. And cause of destruction, degeneration or disappearance of these different types of wind elements or the air element is either we are being disturbed by a certain very powerful obstacle, such as accidents, or either the energy of the wind elements or the energy of all the other elements are degenerating slowly, because one has only that capability. So after the disappearance of dysfunction of this air elements, then the beginning of the degeneration or the dysfunction of the nadi wheels will start. Nadi, the chakras and channels, or the veins. When the wind, when these gross winds are becoming sort of degenerated, then now it is, you have reached to the state of dysfunction of nadis or the veins. So first nadi wheel or the chakra of the navel will be destroyed or degenerated or dysfunction. And the moment the nadi wheel of the navel begin to degenerate, then step by step, what they call, again, now this is more subtle wind. The earlier we talked many different winds, right? These are more gross. Now here, after the destruction of the nadi wheel of the navel, then more subtle wind. This time the name of this wind is the supporting wind. And this will begin to degenerate. Actually, literally, it says that the supporting wind will escape. When the supporting wind escaped, then now this is the beginning of dissolution of the elements, the gross elements now,
当这
the other
种
elements, then your earth element will dissolve into the water element, or signs,
Your
three
sign.
signs. The outer sign, first of all, the outer sign, strength of your body will degenerate. You will feel that even your head, which you have been holding by your neck for all this lifetime, is become kind of bigger and heavier. Your ankles will have difficulty to support this weight of all this body. You will have difficulty to hold like a cup of tea or maybe foods or anything that is slightly heavy. Your texture of the skin will become kind of dry. I don't know really. Kind of dry, yeah. Texture, the skin's whatever. And it says, I guess they didn't have toothpaste at that time. It says your teeth will have unexpected, not like normal, And you will find difficult to control your saliva or any kind of motions. And when that kind of outer signs it happens, then the inner sign will arise. Your mind will, I think that happens, before people die. About these things, we are talking about a person who die naturally, kind of slowly. Someone who has time to die nicely. Someone who dies programmatically, And, it happens that for some people, like, even, few years before, they feel they can have this kind of degeneration feeling. You, as an inner sign, you will, your mind will become very obscured. Not the obscuration, high level kind of obscuration that we normally speak of, but this time the obscuration is like, the thing you will not know things that you usually know. Let's say you are a very good housewife, that you know where exactly you put the car key and the spoons and the forks and all these things. But now you are beginning to lose this kind of sense, And always you will feel that you are being obscured from outer source. And this will bring a lot of depression. And if it gets serious, then you will always feel like, when you are wearing blankets or things like that, you will always feel more secure when you sort of lift the clothes or the blankets away from you. You will feel more secure. And when you are covered, you always feel unsecure. That kind of experience. So you will try to sort of uncover yourself. By the time you are quite close to the death now, you will like to say, or you may even say, please lift me up. So when these things happen, the secret sign will arise. As a secret sign, you will see kind of, you will see kind of a mirage. Mirage. Lot of mirage. Everywhere you see some kind of a watery, mirage. Now, some of the Bardo explainer says that experience of mirage will arise, and this shows that, everybody has the luminosity within ourselves. After a while, then the nadi will of the heart center will disappear or degenerate, dysfunction, become dysfunctional. And then when that happens, then another subtle air element or subtle wind, which we call radiance producing wind. Radiance, beautiful color and radiance producing wind, that will disappear. When that wind disappear, again three different kinds of outer, inner and secret signs will arise. The outer signs are like your mouth and tongue. You will always feel very dry, because after the disappearance of this radiance producing wind, the water element is now dissolved into the fire element. So lots of the moisture of your body will, where there is a moisture, usually you will find they are dry. And then also you will find that your nostrils become drawn in, drawn in. Yeah. And your tongue you will feel that your tongue is twisted, so that whatever you talk, it becomes kind of out of pronunciation, kind of inflexible. I don't know. I think I'm on near there. Then also they say that you will then experience. You will then not see your tip of the tongue. These are the outer signs. And then the inner signs. Your mind feels hazy, nervous, and irritated easily. Whatever, someone may want to comfort you, you are in the bed, and then your relatives and things like this come, and, they might change your clothes, or they might try to put you blankets, or they might bring flowers. Everything makes you really irritated. And then the secret sign will arise, which is you will experience misty like a smoke. We will take a break. Veins and chakras. Although for some of you can be so much names and confusing, it might help you to understand some of the broader tantric teachings in the future. And also this Bardo teaching, this teaching, the dissolutions and disappearance of the elements, this is actually the Buddhist analysis of, or Buddhist view of how a human body is being developed, when the development or a rising stage of a human being is taught. We just have to reverse this, you see. So now where are we? Now the throat, right?
No.
So, is it?
Heart is finished.
Heart is finished, right. Heart is finished. Now the throat. The nadi will, or the nadi is chakra, veins. And in Buddhism we believe that on each of these places, such as secret place, navel, heart, throat, and the crown, or on the head, where in each of these 5 places, veins are met, or kind of, I don't know how to make it simple, but nadis, or the different channels, are joined there and form a gathering of many different veins, which they call chakra, or the will, and which is used as a basis of study of mandala sometimes. So the will of the veins of the throat will then become kind of dysfunctional. At that time, a wind, which they call refining wind, that the wind that usually distinguish between the gross and subtle element, or clean and dirty elements. This wind will disappear or escape. At that point, the fire element of our body will dissolve into the wind element. Since we now no more have any fire elements, as an outer sign, all the feeling of all this breathing that we usually feel as kind of warm will become chilly, cold. In other words, this breathing will chill the mouth and the nose. Gradually, the warmth of our body will go away, And as the last energy of the fire element dissolve, some kind of a steam will arise from the head. Tibetan biology, and science.
Yeah.
And this is the outer sign. And as an inner sign, your mind will become sometimes very clear, that you think that you know, you kind of remember what kind of candy you eat when you are 8 years old, what kind of brand, especially things that is really not necessary to remember, like the candy, brand of the candy, that it comes so clearly, or the mother or father shouting at you, things like that appears very clearly. And all of a sudden, you may also reach to the state that you don't even know your name, that your mind becomes so unclear that you don't know your name, you don't recognize your friends, you don't know where you are, which hospital you are in, whether you are in the hospital or whether you are in home, and all this external appearance you will not be able to perceive clearly. Right. Now, as a secret sign, you will experience visions like a fireflies, this small insects at night, which has some kind of. You will experience that thousands and millions of fireflies sort of invading you, or sort of going round and round surrounding you, and these are the sort of secret sign, right? Degeneration, or the disappearance of the nadi, or the vein will of the secret place will come. And when that happens, what they call karmic wind will escape. This karmic wind is the wind that usually makes us have the motivation, different kind of motivation. Well, motivation itself is not the wind, but this wind helps us. This wind almost acts like a will, so that this blind motivation or blind mind, which is like the driver, completely blind, sort of, drives through without any, guide. We have this, we Buddhists, we know that we should not get angry, and many of us, we are quite good meditator on love and compassion. But when anger happens, and it happens, and only later you realize. And sometimes while you are angry, even though you realize that this is not what you should do, you still want to get angry. I can say that this is because you have not controlled this karmic wind. Anyway, when that wind escaped, so what happened now? Now what is the last element? What was the earlier element? Wind element, right? Wind element then dissolved into consciousness. Actually, this is the time this is the time which we ordinary beings usually call, okay, now he's dying, he's dead. But this Bardo book doesn't believe so. This Bardo book thinks that this being is still alive. Therefore, many of many of Tibetans, they try not to move the bodies and things like that, But this is a modern time. This is a modern place. When you have no right to live where you want to live during our lifetime, where will you get a kind of a right when you are already dead? So, but still, maybe it is good idea not to touch this person. Anyway, as an outer sign of this dissolution of the karmic wind, your breathing, will kind of overlap. You will breathe out or in, and then before one procedure is sort of finished, the other one comes up. Sort of rattles, overlap, choked, should we say. Breathing out will be so long. sort of internal kind of, that you will kind of begin, if you have kind of a mindfulness, you don't have mindfulness already, but if you are aware of what is really happening, you will actually begin to wonder when I'm going to breathe in. It's so long, you will breathe in. And then your breathing in is very short. Again, if you are actually aware of what's happening, you will think, is that all? And as you breathe in or even out, there will be lots of, uncomfortable noise. And your eyes will turn upward. So if other people see you, you only have kind of white eyes. Inner sign. Now the inner sign. At this point, your mind is completely sort of bewildered, completely sort of confused, completely confused. At this point, you will see also different kinds of, visions, depending on what kind of karma or what kind of habitual patterns you have collected during your lifetime, or maybe even previous life. If you have created, like if you kill animals, for their flesh and for their skins, or if you that kind of uncompassionate, if you have created that kind of uncompassionate actions, then all this experience of this blood, experience of this cutting, and experience of this strangling, and all this kind of thing will come reverse this time. You see, this Buddhist, for a general audience, we have to say that Buddhists believe in hell somewhere downwards, and then heaven or Sukarvati or whatever somewhere upwards. Because this is how we usually like to have hell somewhere down, because down is always something but not good, and up is something always good. Although, lower floor is better these days, some of the lower floors. But actually we don't have any hell that exists solitary there, which was designed by God, so that who doesn't sort of obey this God, he can send it there and punish them, and he design a heaven, and who sort of, if obeys him, he sends there and give them rewards. There's nothing like that in Buddhism, but mainly we have kind of experience, experience, and this experience comes because you have gathered such kind of conditions and cause. Because, like for example,